Hi guys, this is Sealander here. I am really missing you, and I wanted to read you another story. So I'm reading The Three Little Dinosaurs. It's by Jim Harris. He's the author and the illustrator. When I first opened up the book, I noticed right away that it has a sticker that says Treasure State Winner 2004. So that means that kids in Montana voted this as their favorite book way back in 2004. Let's sing the song. That's how we always start. It's story time, it's story time, it's story time on. It's story time, it's story time, it's story time on. You're on the steps, I'm in my chair, I have a book with you to share. It's story time, it's story time, it's story time on. All right, let's read the story. Once upon a time, in a thick, steamy jungle, there lived three little dinosaurs. One day, their mother called the dinos in. It's time that you went out into the world and made it your own, she said. But be careful, the big, bad Tyrannosaurus Rex, or he'll make dino burgers out of you. The three dinosaurs giggled. Right, they said, and they headed out into the steamy jungle. The first dinosaur wasn't into heavy construction work. He had better things to do, so he gathered some dry grass and quickly heaped it up into the shape of a house. This'll do nicely, he said, and he grabbed some snacks, plugged in his favorite video game, and plopped down in his favorite comfy chair. But before he could blow up his first alien ship, he heard a heavy thump, thump, thump coming up to his house. Who could that be? He wondered. Maybe it's the pizza delivery guy. But it wasn't the pizza delivery guy. It was the Tyrannosaurus Rex. He smelled the little dino inside the straw hut, and his mouth watered. Little pig, let me come in, he growled. No way, Jose, the first little dino shouted back. And don't call me a pig, I'm a dinosaur. Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in, yelled the Rex. And he huffed and he puffed and he blew the little grass hut to smithereens. But in the confusion, the first little dino snuck out and ran off to find his brothers. The second little dino trudged through the hot jungle until he came to a stegosaur sitting in a mud hole. What's happening? Said the second little dinosaur. Making bricks, replied the stegosaur. Mind if I have a few to build a house with? Asked the second little dino. Sure, said the steg. But you must let them dry for several days under the hot sun before they'll be ready. Thanks, cried the second little dino, and off he went with his mud bricks. But the second little dino did not wait to dry the bricks. Instead, he went right ahead and stacked them up into a little house. No sooner had he finished than the first little dino came running up. No problem, said the second little dino, after his brother told him about the Rex. You can move in with me. But the Rex had followed the first dino to the mud brick house. He banged on the door. Little pigs, let me come in, shouted the Rex. And he thought, I'll make a double cheeseburger out of them. Not by the hairs on our tinny chin chin, called out the second little dino. Besides, you didn't say please. And stop calling us pigs, shouted the first dino. The Rex grinned a sharp, toothy grin. Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in. But he huffed and he puffed and he blew, and the little house would not budge. Then he noticed the bricks were not quite dry. Ah, he sighed. Then he went and gathered up some buckets of water. The Rex climbed up on top of the little house and started pouring water on the roof. At first the house began to sag. Then it drooped and dripped until finally the soggy little house melted into a puddle of mud. The Rex grabbed up the little dinos, but they were covered in wet, slimy mud, and they slipped right out of the Rex's fingers and dashed into the forest. I'll get those little piggies yet, he growled, and he set off to follow their muddy trail. Meanwhile, the third little dino hiked through the tall vine-covered trees until he came to an extinct volcano. The big rocks and boulders gave him an idea. Working very hard, he used the huge boulders to build the foundation and the smaller rocks to build the walls of the house. It was a very large house and beautiful house, which was good because no sooner had he finished putting on the door hinges than his two brothers came running up, panting and dripping with mud. "Can we stay with you?" they squeaked between breaths. "You bet." So this isn't part of the story, but this is the view that the dinos have from their windows in their house. This huge mountain with a big boulder on top. But the Rex was not far behind. Little pigs, let me come in," he called. "Hey, Rex, you really do need a new opening line," called back the second little dino. "And stop calling us pigs," shouted the first little dino. "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in," shouted back the Rex. "I'm so scared," laughed the third little dino. "You can't blow a rock house down. It's your bad breath that really worries me. Haven't you ever brushed?" Of course, this made the Rex very mad, so he huffed his very biggest huff, and he puffed his biggest puff, and he blew till his tongue hung down to his chin. But nothing happened. So he brought his buckets of water, and he poured, and he poured, and he poured some more, but he could not melt the house either. But the Rex wouldn't give up. Every night he sat in his house long after bedtime and thought about how to get those three little dinos. Now Rex had a brain the size of a peanut, so it took him not days, not months, but years. So one night he finally thought of the answer. "This is brilliant," he shouted. He could just taste those piggy burgers with mustard and melted cheese. The next day Rex found a long pole and placed it carefully under a giant boulder on the peak of a tall mountain above the rock house. Then he pulled and he tugged, and finally he jumped on the end of the pole. The huge rock tilted over and it began to roll faster and faster. It rolled down the side of the mountain, through the forest, across the creek, and then smash right in the rock house. I've done it, he cried, and he raced down to what was left of the third dino's house to get a triple deluxe burger for lunch. But the three little dinos weren't there. "Now where could those little porkers be?" he muttered. He was busily looking for them under every rock and didn't notice somebody walk up behind him. "Who's gonna pay for this?" demanded a gruff voice. "I hope you've got insurance, Buster." "And stop calling us pigs," another deeper voice said. "It's a good thing we were outside," drawled the third dino. "You could hurt somebody, fella." The Rex grinned wickedly and turned around quickly to grab the little dinos before he could get away, but he found himself eye to eye with a rather round belly. While Rex had been trying to figure out how to get into the rock house, the three dinos had grown up, 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 and up. Rex looked up at the three giant big dinos and turned very pale.
"Oh, sorry about the house," he squeaked. "Oh, I just remembered. I gotta go to a dentist appointment. Yeah, that's it. A dentist appointment."
Then he turned and he ran as fast as he could and didn't slow down till he was far, far away. But the three brothers built new houses and lived happily ever after, and they never saw hide nor hair of the Rex again, because he had taken up a quiet, more peaceful life. He's gone fishing. So now I want you to talk to your parents about how this story is like the Three Little Pigs and how it's different from the Three Little Pigs. And then also tell them if you liked the real version of the Three Little Pigs, the original version with real pigs, better, or this story with dinos better. Okay, I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.